Good day, everyone. I am Jerome, and today let's talk about the digital self. But before going through with our discussion, I have these questions. First, how many social media accounts do you have? Second, what content do you want to view in the cyberspace? Third, is there a difference between your online self and your real self? Fourth, what kind of posts in the social media do you usually share? So, I am sure that you are aware that not all posts in the cyberspace can be helpful to everyone or to the audience watching it. So, what is digital self? Digital self is the evaluation by oneself or one's worth as an individual in distinction from one's interpersonal or social roles. The number of people who are becoming more active online continues to increase worldwide, and the debate about how our digital environment affects our identity and how computerization embedded in our lives affects our individual capacities is being conducted in various places. More than half of the population worldwide now uses the internet. Almost two-thirds of the world population now have a mobile phone. More than half of the world's web traffic now comes from mobile phones. And more than half of all mobile connections around the world are now broadband. Media users in the Philippines grow by 12 million or 25%, while the number of mobile social users increased by 13 million or 32%. Those growth figures are still higher compared to the previous year. More than half the world now uses a smartphone. So in this modern and most challenging level of technologically led changes in society lies the internet, a global connection or network of individual selves that is able to find expression that goes beyond all cultural restrictions. The interaction between things and individual among each other and with each other is creating a new social space, affecting and challenging personal identity and its mastery or management. So the feeling of an inner self and outer self generated the impulse to reveal oneself to others in a believable manner. Now, according to Lionel Thrillings, a university professor and author, analysis about the self and its relationship with others distinguish sincerity and authenticity. So when we talk about sincerity, it refers to the exposure in public of what one feels privately. On the other hand, authentic person is one who takes action based on some internal standard and takes responsibility for this freely chosen action. So the social world of a Western influenced society consists of the three domains. First, family, second, school, and the third is neighborhood. People in these social domains exert different impacts on the formation of self, depending on the stage of development of the child. Research have shown that parents have a dominant influence on their children's sense of self prior to adolescence. According to Rosenberg's, as the child grows older, the influence of peers increases. Now, the emergence of internet, however, add the fourth domain, which is the online life, to the social world. The online life has definitely altered the dynamics of self-identity, especially to adolescents. So the self is constructed online, is generally called the digital self. Analysis of the experiences of online users have shown that the characteristics of the digital self are as follows. First, oriented inward, which means the digital self is oriented inward towards the world of thoughts and feelings because others cannot see the online user's overt attributes. Then we all have the next is on narrative in nature. It is narrative in nature because online users will only come to know the person primarily through what the person tells them. Then we also have retractable. It is retractable because others are unable to link the online self claims to the offline identities. And then another is multipliable. People can interact with one another in different domains of online world and are relatively the same time. Now, let's talk about the self-presentation. What is a self-presentation? So it is how people present themselves online in the manner that they want to. Research suggests that self-presentations tend to be superficial. Some may disclose their interest online rather than their own beliefs and feelings. So there are basic kinds of people that you interact with online, which are as follows. First, people you do not know at all. Second, people you know both online and offline. And the third, people you know only online. In the online social domain, it is entirely acceptable to contact and to be contacted by complete strangers. Now we have here selective self-presentation and impression management. So self-presentation behavior is any behavior intended to create, modify, or maintain an impression of ourselves in the minds of others. Whenever we are attempting to lead people to think of us in a particular way, we are engaging in self-presentation. So why do people engage in self-presentation? First, it helps facilitate social interaction. Second, it enables individuals to attain material and social rewards. And third, it helps people privately construct desired identities. So the general social media platforms are used for social browsing, social searching, communication, and impression management. So what is impression management? This is the attempt to or control or to influence any other people's perception. And this could be their perception of a certain person, material position, or an event. So there are two main motives of attempting to manage of impressions to others. First, instrumental. This motive is to basically gain rewards and increase one's self-esteem. Second is expressive. So motivation about attempting to be in control of one's personal behavior and identity. There are also strategies for impression management. So, number one is self-promotion. It is a proactive process in which a person actively says things or takes action to show his or her competence to the audience. So, self-promotion often increases whenever there is an opportunity to openly impress someone of higher status. Then another strategy is called ingratiation. This is a process by which someone tries to win the approval or acceptance of another. Example, you may give favorable comments and compliments to others, so in return, you will also be praised as well. Then another is exemplification. So this is about being involved in a strategic self-sacrifice so that the observers may recognize the dedication. So an exemplifier wants other people to know how hard he or she has been working because of the need to advertise his or her behavior. Number four is intimidation. This is a strategy that involves showing off authority, power, or the potential to punish in order to be seen by observers as someone who could be or is dangerous. This is designed to increase the credibility of one's threats and in turn enhance the probability that many will comply with the demands for agreement. And then fifth is supplication. This is an approach or a strategy where the individual exploits his or her weaknesses or shortcomings in order to receive help or benefits. Now, what is the impact of online interactions on the self? So communication occurs during interaction, and our need to be connected and to interact with others is universal and unavoidable. Communication is necessary in our unending search for sense and meaning to our world. So the social world is socially constructed through interactions between people, roles, rules, categorizations, stereotypes, and so on. Social networks have the power to amplify this human nature. They have broken the barriers of distance and time, of presence and visibility. So they expand the possibilities of sharing and playing identities. And they fulfill the most deeply felt human need of finding a psychological distinctiveness and self-definition in a social context. Now, what is social validation? So, social validation is an important part of being human. Hence, a Facebook like, react, or an Instagram follow is a social signal that makes us feel good and makes us want to crave for more. So there are boundaries of self online, so private versus public, personal versus social identity. How are identities constructed in the age of the internet? Is the distinction between private identity and public identity still relevant, especially for this generation? So an important characteristic of the internet age is the phenomenon of public identity. It can be said that for millennials and for the future generation, the notion of privacy as an individual would probably lost. So what is about private versus public self? Social scientists have given very different definitions of the private and public. Understanding the difference between these concepts will help you and your study of self. First, public refers to mental events in a person that are inherently unobservable by others. That is why it's called private. On the other hand, public are behaviors that are open to observations of other people. Now, here is a summary of various uses of the terms private and public. Now, when we say private, it is phenomenological experience. And when it's public, these are observable behavior. Another thing is for private, acting only for self, but for public, acting as agent for others. And another one, for private, actor control access to information regarding self, but for public, information about self not controlled by the actor. And lastly, for private, acting in the interest of a limited number of people, but for public, acting in the interest of the bigger community. And now there are possible advantages and disadvantages of making your online public profile or private profile. Moreover, there are also risks and possibility of identity theft. And it opens up the possibility for hackers to commit fraud and launch spam and virus attacks. And it also increases the risk of people falling prey to online scams that seem genuine, resulting in data or identity theft. And it also has the potentially results in negative comments and bashing. So the world is at our fingertips with a touch of a screen or a click of a mouse. We can share our thoughts, opinions, and interact with someone halfway across the world. That is the power of social media. Now, having much power online, we should also learn how to properly use it or face the consequences. So we have watched celebrities lose credibility because of one irresponsible tweet or post, and it's not only limited to celebrities. It can happen to ordinary person. There are also instances where ordinary teens lose their scholarship due to irresponsible use of social media. With that said, be mindful of what you post. As said, think before you click and learn how to use social media responsibly. Make sure to avoid negative consequences and keep your personal information safe online. So that will be all about our topic on the digital self. Thank you and keep safe, everyone.